Is August 28th, 23. Yesterday, everything made me so sick. I got home, I talked to my friend, and I just got a hot bath and went to bed. I was so exhausted from the day. Yesterday, I went to work, took my client to church, and of course, there's idiots out in the parking lot yelling stuff as I'm walking in. We told these people nobody had a right in their home. Well, then they're out there running their mouth, wah, 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 wah. And I thought, not even paying attention, just keep walking, okay? Just ignore. So I go in, and while we're sitting down, I start writing out where different things that happen. That during the case, like the first month or two, I was in Walmart 62 by Wood Forest. This old man walks up to me. He looked at me in front of the investigators. For every idle word you tell on us, I'll turn it on you. I'm like, who are you? You try to leave Dave, I'll list your child molester. Okay? He's like, you know that bruise on your leg? No, I got a big bruise on my leg. I've been throwing up that morning. And I finally got feeling good enough to go down to Walmart. And that guy shows up. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I use sodium pentothal on you. He said, and you know what you told me? Now, this man, sodium pentothal is a lethal outlaw drug you lie under. You'll admit to Pearl Harbor, writing ransom notes, anything. You just confess to anything. It's lethal, though. And they outlawed it in the country years ago. Spy flick movie stuff. Okay? He's like, you know what you told me? Now, this man broke in my house, picked my bedroom door lock, and stabbed me with a date rape drug, an amnesia drug, and told me to say this stupid lie. Said, you told me you were wearing this one nightgown. You bent over improperly once, and they accidentally seen your butt, and you had a life of pain because of it. You tried to leave Dave, I'll list you a child molester for that. I got away from him. Now, my house is legally bugged. I went home, and I'm like, Dave, I always wore the grandma nightgown. I had one of those old big tent grandma nightgowns that went down to your knees. I said, I always wore that with underwear and a house coat when the grandkids were over. I know that. I said, leggings, sweater, and a house coat when the grandkids were over. I know that. I said, one time when we were video chatting, you were telling me how to hook up the DVD player. And I had the grandma nightgown on, underwear, and a house coat. And they went, ooh, Grandma, what's on the back of your legs? And I went, varicose veins. I got them when I had your daddy. Here, hope, Papa, well, get changed. I said, they're right behind my knees. And that's all they seen. He said, I know that. That man had no idea what he was talking about. He changed it. Talked me up and told me to say that. Okay? There was also other men that would come up and say weird stuff. We drugged you, told you, say this, that. And I just look at him and I walk off. I had bruises. I had lost 18 pounds before I called FBI. I had bruises all over me, seen by Altman family physician for migraine headache, throwing up, dizzy, heart racing, and a severe swollen personal infection and bruising. They gave me iron pills, stuff for nauseousness, headaches, and then for the personal infection, pills and creams. I was so swollen I could hardly go to the bathroom from being drugged, beat, and raped. And when I told them, I found out what they were doing, they're like, your ex-husband is a vile, sick animal. You're lucky to get away from him alive. Okay? Because I lost another 70. They want to watch them break in and drug the hell out of me and beat the hell out of me and human traffic me, pull the case. They did it all through the case, and here they were doing it before. Okay? And what's bad is 8/8/18, I had a light in my security system outside around midnight. I stopped talking to Dave, and I happened to look, and I called. Now, this is only 2 officers I ever spoke to. They were silly. They came out, and they said, ma'am, it looks like an alien orb or an angry spirit. Well, it's August. It's hot. I thought he was dehydrated. So I offered him water. Ma'am, we're not allowed to use the bathroom on duty. I said, I'll let you use the bathroom and give you some water. I thought he was dehydrated. Eleanor, or an angry spirit. He's like, ma'am, you know how we handle it in the country? We buy big dogs, open the door and let the dogs handle it. Somebody come on our property at night. He didn't want bothered with a trespasser. And more likely, that was one of those guys coming over to drug, beat, and rape me. That's how sick all this is. And they didn't want bother. Okay? Well, after church, I get my client home, okay? I go home in between the 2 jobs, and then I go out and pick up my client. Well, they're following me. I can hear them off in the distance. So I start giving a testimony of being sick and how I got well. Well, a lot of them scream, because when you hear it, it's not funny. Okay? It's not funny at all. Okay? I take my client to Red Lobster. Ahead of me is a biker guy and girl. They're whispering to each other. We told Bill he better stop having people say stuff to her. The police up there will take care of him. Okay? Well, Bill from the Freemasons, he looks like Alex. Now, Dixie seen Alex, so did John and Darlene. He's a white hair guy, white. He parts it on the side. It's uncapped. But that's him. Okay? He looks like retired Judge Pete. They say he's his kid, Michelle's brother. Okay? He was stalking me. Alex was stalking me from Louisville to Ravenna, Maslin, North Canton. Everybody's seen him. Okay? He was always around me. He's the one that admitted he broke in my house 12/21/18, stabbed me in the neck of the refrigerator, put the dent in my head, bashed me in the back of the head, beat and raped me, and left me for dead. They really need to get him for that. Okay? Then they made up the scam of the chip to cover up the attempted murder, beat, and rape. Have people walk by and have their phones ding and act all crazy. Okay. Getting back to Bill. Bill looks like Alex. Okay? But he keeps his hair slicked back. He showed up. He's from the Freemason Lodge in Ravenna. Okay? He drove a large medium blue truck. He showed up. He'd follow me from Ravenna. He'd be down here in Canton. He should follow me clear to Minerva McDonald's. He would be in North Canton. He was stalking me. And he looks just like Alex and retired Judge Pete. Okay? His name's Bill. Goes to the Freemason Lodge in Ravenna. He told those guys he had $800,000. He wanted to meet me. He was too shy. He wouldn't be 5 feet from me. And if you don't come up and say something to me, I ignore you. Okay? Have the guys watch her. I like her. Do you know, I was watching different things on human trafficking gangs in Florida. The retired judge that had a human trafficking gang there had over 100 men watching their victims, so the authorities wouldn't help them. Running scams so nobody would help them. That's how they control them. They make sure they don't get help. That's the way they get away with it. Sort of what retired Judge Pete's doing here. Okay? Getting back to Bill and his freakiness. All right. So, what is it? May, June, July 19. I'm being harassed so bad that I took my laundry to Perry Township to laundromat. A woman comes in. She sits next to me. She's like, my son Bill's getting married. I said, oh, that's nice. Shows me a picture of his future wife. Picture of Bill from the Freemason with his future wife. Oh, you follow her around, you know. No. And they're showing me her bridal shower, their house. His mother's now involved, okay? What's really freaky? His wife shows up and her friends and starts stalking me. Okay? I'm desperate for help. And in, what was it, October, November 21, I go to the FBI building in North Canton. I sit out there. Now, these people have impersonated federal officers, have fake FBI badges. They got in the back of Altman Hospital March 13, 21 and lied to Dr. Allen and Tina's. They let him in the back with fake badges. The guy that raped and tortured me told everybody he was FBI. Okay? So walking in that building, I looked at it, and the first time I couldn't go in. I know my car is bugged from the case and these people sold it. I could see him driving by. I laid my head on the steering wheel, gave the testimony, and then drove to the post office. I walk in, some lady leans over and said, we all know after what you lived through, you couldn't walk in that building. And there's Bill's wife right in front of me on the phone with him. Honey, I know she knows who I am. These people need to go to jail for this. And she's stalking me. Okay? Okay. I smoked cigarettes at the time, and I walked out to my car and smoked a couple and sat there and shook. It's like, till they left, and then I went and mailed my package. Okay? Bill from the Freemasons Lodge in Ravenna was having the Freemasons harass me. I worked at a bank. They would drive by the bank continuously. They'd come in. We went out with so-and-so instead of you. And they would say stupid stuff around me and then insult me. And they would do it in Walmart and a bunch of other places. You'd probably be surprised how many of them were fake FBI agents. And how many, if they pull the case, how many of them were breaking in and drugging me? Because those biker things were saying that he was one of the ones running around lying the weird with yourself. And that he better cut it out telling people that. Because the police up there is going to get him. They better get him. How much you want to bet? How many people, if they pull the case, were the ones pretending to be FBI? Okay? It's a shower scene in the other room. Okay, now I got Bill done. Okay, so, all right. I take my client from Red Lobster over to Ollie's. It's a discount store. Some guy walks up and says, it's a shame. Really not half that bad. I thought, thanks. Dear God. Like 2 months ago in Walmart, someone walked up and said, what is he talking about? You're really not that ugly. It's like, thanks. Well, maybe a little makeup. I thought, shut up. I do home health care. You're lucky I brushed my hair. I got clean clothes on. I'm clean. I'm not going to get dressed up to go take care of people. It's not a glamorous job. It's a very respectable job and kind job. But it's not a glamorous one. Okay, so after we leave Ollie's, there's a guy out there with a couple. The couple said, we all know the FBI made fun of her for this because they sold the videos of those agents laughing at me instead of arresting them for stalking me and raping me and drugging me. They made fun of the victim for being human trafficked and a scam run on them on a recorded line, and they sold the video of those agents laughing at me, that the FBI laughs at human trafficking victims that are being scammed. Stops, you don't know. Yells out my rapist name and everything. We could always use Pete's tape, but weird. It's a shower scene in the other room. Okay. And then they said, well, we all know the FBI made fun of her for it. He said, well, the FBI told us to keep an eye on her. And the FBI knows that they made fun of him for falling for it. How could you? See, it's coming down to, how could you? How could you? It was done by a stalker. I take my client over to Target. Girls walk by, double up laughing. Oh my goodness. And they're laughing. Okay? And they're laughing at these people. We have been following her around, trying to find out what their permanent plan is. It's stalking tapes? Are you kidding? We read what she wrote about what that old man said and one of the different things they drugged her up and told her to say. Could you imagine her face of people coming up and saying that to her? And they're busting out laughing and photoshopping a washing scene in the other room. That's all they had? Was them drugging her up in stalking tapes and telling her to say a bunch of stuff and photoshopping a washing scene. Are you serious? Is that really their permanent plan? Busting out laughing. The store went quiet. And they were like, Will really does need to find out who that old guy was breaking in and drugging her. Okay? Store went quiet. Walked off. And we went to the grocery house. Somebody in the next aisle, they're like, nobody's to say a word to her. They found the tape of an old man saying he was drugging her up and telling her to say it. And then they were telling other people they were drugging her and telling her to say stuff like that. Okay? See, they saw the login. Alright. Well, then so it was nice. The rest of the store was quiet. It was real nice. I get home and of course the riffraff wants to like drive around. Okay? So I called my friend and I talked to him, and by then I'm just sick to my stomach. And I just went to sleep early last night. I was so tired from all the drama of... Ugh. Okay? Well, you know, that's just like the faking you were sick and faking you got well from strange bullhockiness. That's such bullhawk. I'm going to do the statement of being sick and getting well again real quick. And I'll tell you what. Some idiot yelled it yesterday when I drove through Walmart. I'm the one that told everyone not to help her. She was going to be faking she was sick and faking she got well while her family was grieving. Well, you didn't talk to a doctor. You talked to only Strange, because he's the only idiot that made that up. Did he have an MD license? No. He had a high school diploma from 1950. You know what you had to do? Add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and read and write. That's it. That's how low his IQ was. Only has a minister license because a bunch of ministers got together across the parking lot, 10, 15 guys, taught some classes, and signed some license. He only got the building because he was willing to pay that guy what he wanted out of the church's funds for like 20 years. Bought the building. Like he said, he owned the building. Got it? He ruled that place with fear and lies, as it was a cult leader with a low education. Okay, so years ago, I'm fine, and all of a sudden I double over screaming. Dave rushes me to the emergency room. They take the doctor said I went in and took her appendix out. It didn't look bad, but the way she was screaming, I can't risk it bursting inside her. There had been something wrong with it for her to scream like that. Okay. 2 months later, I'm screaming again. I go in and same place. They're like, have you ever been checked for a cyst? I had endometriosis. Fluid-filled cysts growing inside me and bursting. That will topple you over. All right. I had to go through my belly button and down around it several times. I have a real thick scar because I had to keep cutting through it. Okay? And go back in. I was bleeding into my stomach from the bursting. They had to repair stuff. They started me on burning treatments and medication caused kidney stones. They were knocking me out, putting stents in and out of my kidneys. Okay? They burst so bad inside me that my uterus flipped over. And when I'd have my monthly, I'd bleed out onto the ground. So I ended up having a lower hysterectomy. 2 more months later, I'm screaming again. I have a fluid-filled cyst in my ovary as big as a golf ball. They said, it burst, you're dead. So they cut me side to side and took my ovaries out. Okay? A month and a half later, I have pancreatitis. They're looking for the cause, and from being knocked out and all those treatments, my gallbladder quit working. So they had to take my gallbladder out. And then I had to be on enzymes for a while. About a couple months later, I had a knot in my stomach. The scar tissue from all those surgeries in my stomach had collected, and they had to go in and take it out. Okay, I finally get better. And one day, I'm doubled over cramping and bleeding. I go in the hospital, and one of the kidney stones had kinked the tube, and it was, the urine was shooting back up into the kidney, and the kidney was bleeding. So I have a 4-inch scar on my back, and they had to take the damaged part out and re-sew it back together. I am fibromyalgia. My muscles lock tight. Fibromyalgia, your muscles lock tight from being hurt. I'm cut from the bottom of my stomach to my rib cage, different places, on the side and now my back. It's like when you have a stroke in your brain, your handle clench up, and they have to slowly try to pry it open, then they'll give you a ball to squeeze it, and then they'll try to get you to move your fingers, and so that you learn to reuse your hand again. But fibromyalgia is sort of like you have a stroke in your nervous system. From being hurt, your muscles lock, and you can't get them to unlock from being hurt. Okay? If I would have just stayed in bed for a few months, and just barely got up, I probably would have got well. But those muscles are cut front to back, and I'm in so much pain. They gave me a body girdle from the lower part of my waist up to my rib cage, because just even sitting up was so painful. It was ridiculous. Stupid me went to pain management. Don't go there. They're witch doctors. Go to physical therapy, chiropractors, massage therapy. Other ones are witch doctors. They almost killed me. I go up there and I get diagnosed with fibromyalgia. They gave me 30 shots of steroids once a month. That's way too much. Way too much. I went from 105 to about 250 pounds in 6 months. They started me on alternative medicine. My feet start swelling. I'm like, is it the medication? No. It's an underlying condition. No. It was a medication. Okay? So they send me to some of their associates, which add medication. So the swelling gets worse. And it's going up to the point my legs are doubling in size. And I'm going to orthopedic doctors. They're pulling out turkey-based syringes, fluid out, and putting more steroids. It got to the point my knees were popping out of place from all the fluid. It's documented on an MRI report. Okay? And they gave me braces to hold my knees in place when I walk, and just some canes to stabilize me. The swelling went up into my waist. My heart got off. I was in the cardiac ward several times, and I got put on calcium blockers and nitro pills. It went to the point my thyroid quit working. My face started swelling. My brain started swelling. My stomach was bleeding from the medication. I was pooping out blood. I went and took one of their crackpot doctor friends said, well, if I scope your stomach, most of my clients end up with a colostomy. I just go ahead and do it while I'm in there. So if you want me to scope your stomach, you better be ready to have a bag on your side. I'm like, I don't want no bag on my side. And then they said, well, you have brain tumors. I had brain swelling. My pituitary gland was swollen so bad it was pushing on my eyes, and I could hardly see at times. You got tumors. We need to remove it and put you on hormones. I went to my doctor. I said, what do you think about this? She's like, would you stop going to those doctors? She said, we'll put it this way. You have what they call the golden ticket insurance company. Almost pays for everything. She said, and what they're doing is they're falsely diagnosing you so that you have to come back. Then they're writing these prescriptions. You pay $50, $100. The insurance company pays $2,000 or $3,000. They get a kickback, and she said, and she literally took her hand and like she was writes them out a thing from a kickback from the drug company, $200 to $1,000 for every prescription they write. And they're falsely diagnosing you so they can write those prescriptions. And then they're sharing you with their friends and associates that are keeping you sick, so you have to keep coming back. Stop going to them. The only thing's wrong with you is your muscles locked up from having all those surgeries. Well, Joanne Young had told me about Dr. Eli. She said, I know of a doctor that gets you on high doses of pain medicine, gets you out moving, and you get better. I went in. He's like, I had a lady not quite as bad as you. She said, in 9 months, I have a run on a treadmill. I thought, you're crazy. I'm dying. My brain's swollen. My heart's off. I'm swelled up like an Oompa Loompa. They tried to say I had epilepsy. I had lupus. I mean, it was crazy. And I had nothing wrong with me. But my muscles locked up from being hurt. Okay? So he's like, I get you off that medication, you'd be surprised how fast you get well. Put me on fentanyl. Fentanyl patches are 100 times stronger than morphine and 50 times stronger than heroin. They give it to you in the last stages of cancer. Put me on muscle relaxers and breakthrough Vicodins if it got too bad. The first month of being off those medications, I lost 30 pounds. I got enough feeling in my feet I could drive my car. I would pull myself around stores, allotments, back allotment stores and malls. I would do my own grocery shopping. I would work out to the point that my muscles would contract so tight I'd be screaming in pain even with the fentanyl. I would get David rushed me in the emergency room, and Dr. Eli said, she's got to move those muscles to get them to unlock. You make her comfortable. Well, after the second month, it didn't happen anymore. They stopped contracting that hard. The swelling went down from all the way down to, I was a 16 from a 24 tight to a 16 in 6 months. Now I started working in with him in November of 2002, and here it is, May 3rd, 2003. I'm down to like a 16. My feet had went back down to a 8 regular loose, where my feet are normally 7, 7.5. They went up to 8.5 wide tight. And now they're back down to an 8 loose. I'm almost back down to me. And I'm going up and down the stairs with just the braces holding on, walking outside with just the braces, waddling like a duck, trying to balance myself. I feel horrible now. My mother would be so proud of me because I wouldn't give up. I would try walking around the house. I would take 4 steps, 10 steps, and I'd fall over because my feet are numb. Or my knee would pop out from the fluid. And she's like, here, you made it this far. And I would tell her to shut up. I felt like she was mocking me. And I'm trying my hardest. I'm a grown-ass woman trying to learn to walk again. And I feel bad for snapping at her. But I couldn't see anything but the pain of the situation I was in and trying to get out of it. And I kept trying and trying. Well, Brian Lady showed up. He told us that my whole family's at home, that there was a church baseball game that day, and Phil was leading a front car, and he didn't even try to stop for the stop sign. Blew right in front of everybody, right into a semi, killed him and Tyler. I talked to people. I said if they played with his brakes, his brake lights, if he tried to hit him, would have came on. Yeah, he just wouldn't have been able to stop. He didn't even try to stop. He was showing off and blew through that stop sign into a semi. He paid with it for his life and his grandson's life. People around the church would say, they have to live with the shame of their father killing their kid. They do. All right. Well, 2 months later, a missionary showed up and he said, he gave me a stupid lecture. I want you to fight through the pain. By then, I'm like a 14, 16, getting stronger every day. I do my own grocery shopping and everything. And everybody at church is like, look how thin you're getting. It was like watching a balloon deflate from a 24 down to 14 in less than a year. Think of that. We're into just 9 months. That's how fast and rapidly I was losing weight. My heart was working fine. My adrenal gland was working fine. My thyroid, my brain swelling's gone. It was all induced by the wrong medications, medical malpractice. The doctors encouraged Dave and I to sue them for 2 years for almost killing me. Okay? Brian Laney told us about it, and that the people in the church tried to call that minister, and he called him liar, called him names, and hung up on him. They had to wait for the bodies to get to the hospital. Like I said, 2 months later, after that tragedy, a missionary shows up and prays for me, gives me a stupid lecture. I want you to fight through the pain. Been doing it. I want you to rebuke the pain. Already been doing that. He's like, I want you to try to walk by faith. Well, he's a long-winded minister. My legs were hanging down there, and they already went numb again. I stood up, and I fell. I left with my canes. The next day on the paper route, long back or allotment, nothing happened. Second day, nothing happened. I have been trying to walk with just one cane and just trying to get balance. The third day, nothing happened. Fourth day, where your muscles are sitting there clenching and clenching and clenching. It goes into spontaneous remission 80% of the time. 9 months into it, they stop spasming. It's the weirdest feeling. It's like they're not contracting anymore. It goes into spontaneous remission 80% of the time, and I had to work my ass off. My ass off. I still fell for 2 more months. I even fell on Macy's into a rack. I was so embarrassed. But my feet were still numb on the outside. And it took me 4 months to get off the fentanyl patches. I went through horrible withdrawal. Now, Brian Laney was friends with Mike and Strange's grandson and his girlfriend, Brandy. Well, Brandy was a high school cheerleader, and she was an apostolic, and she came into church. She had a skirt on, but that minister, it wasn't apostolic religion thing. It was above her knee, so he made fun of her over the pulpit. Well, she's upset, and Brian and her were friends, and they went out. Being 17, they had sex. Mike found out, told his grandfather, from the pulpit, he told everybody, if he dares shows his face in my church, you are to shun him. I don't treat people that way. You're to look away. He'll learn he's not welcome here for doing that. He's 17. Told my kids, you've been friends with him since you were small. He's welcome over our house, and you're to talk to him. Do you understand me? Well, Strange was so two-faced. His own son, my sister, is married to his son, Tim. And Tim was cheating with Katie, and Linda was following him around. She came up to me and said, I was following him again. I think they thought it was you. Well, do you know what happened a week later? Strange told everybody I was faking I was sick and faking I got well while that family was grieving. And then I found out right before the case started, people were saying, well, he was supposed to make it up to the single church women. I said, he better not been making up nothing to no church women. I asked him about it. And then they finally told me he was to take the single church women out to teach you a lesson for faking you were sick and faking you got well, and he was to date behind your back. That's just letting him cheat behind my back. Strange called Dave his son from the pulpit because he kissed his ass. And him and Dave came up with that scam of just saying that, so I couldn't go to church and he could cheat in front of everybody and still have his wife at home. It was a scam Strange made up. Do you know why the Vegas want you to feel sorry for them? Because it's manipulation. If you feel sorry for them, then they can control you. And it's sick that they want to hurt. See, if they had integrity, they would have looked at Strange and said, you're not using this, our family tragedy, to break up any family or hurt anybody. How dare you include us? For one thing, the week before those people died, Well, I was talking to them at the back door. They're like, Karen, it's so good to see you at church. We always see you outside. We see you driving yourself around, pulling yourself around place. You're going to beat this. Look how thin you've got. I said, well, they talked about spontaneous remission. Well, you're going to beat it on your own. My mom told everybody that in that church, too. And they all watched me get better for 9 months. That's how stupid it was. But whatever Strange said, it went just like Dave White trying to blaspheme God and trying to kill himself, and all he did is switch churches. He didn't like you. He lied his ass off. The man's in hell. So I'll tell you what, nobody ever talked to a doctor, because Altman Family Physicians, every year, it's good, you always blame the steroids, but they had you on so many medications. They should have caught it 20 years ago, but they should have, but it was a medication error that made you swell up and everything quit working. 20 years ago, they called it medical malpractice, and to sue them, they did it on purpose to rip you off. See what I mean? No, anybody that says that, they only talk to Strange. Because they sure as hell didn't talk to a doctor. See what I mean? And how dare they use their family's tragedy to kill people and hurt people that had nothing to do with nothing. They only sat in the same church. And they watched me get well for 9 months. And I got well 2 months later.